I'm here with Team CRC Mavic manager Nigel Page to talk about the development of the brand new Nukeproof Dissent. So Nige, how did the Dissent come about?
Okay, so a couple of years back when Sam was still racing downhill, obviously, you know, we had a really strong 2014 season, and then we had a new Pulse come along. It's a bit of a combination at the time where Sam had been injured and he'd come off a really good season, won a couple of World Cups again, and then he had a big crash at World Championships in Hafjell. Anyway, so I just got chatting to Sam a bit about, you know, what bikes he'd really enjoyed riding in the past and what kind of characteristics those bikes had and why they felt good to him. And we got talking about his old Iron Horse, which he had obviously loads of success on. It's probably a combination of things there, you know, he was at the top of his game then in downhill, but he just said that the bike didn't seem to work as well as the Pulse, but it was a really fast bike. Yeah. We kind of started from scratch. Dale come up with a design in the main pivot point with a flip chip. So we actually have 4 different settings with different rates. So that was really good, and we got a prototype bike for Whistler last year. That was the first time Sam tried the bike. He ended up doing 4 or 5 runs on Garbanzo, and then he raced it and won Garbanzo, and straight away he was like, yeah, the bike's much more what I like the feel of on a downhill bike. From there then we got a bike to Adam Brayton, and Elliot did some testing on it. Weirdly enough, 3 different settings out of the 4 different people like those. Sam liked what we call setting 1, Elliot liked setting 3, Adam Brayton's on setting 3, but they're all different riders. You know, Sam's on flat pedals, the other guys are clipped in, and it's really interesting that we've got that option on this bike, which I think is really cool.
To get those sort of 4 rates, we kind of went around and asked sort of different industry guys, different pro riders, and looked at all the different sort of top bikes that are out there, and they're all very different, and even talking to different riders and different suspension experts, nobody can actually agree on what is the best leverage rate. Yeah. So that's why we made this mule, just to test to see what would really work. And we started off with, you know, like number 1 setting was very similar progression rate to the Pulse. And then we went right up to setting 4, which is to nearly 30% progression. But actually it turned out that there is no right answer. Once we sort of handing the bike out to different riders, you know, personally I preferred setting 2, that's kind of where I was going with, if there was only going to be 1 setting. But then like Sam Hill, he was like, oh, setting 1's for me, this is brilliant. And then different riders were really into the sort of progressive rate, but really supple at the top. So it turns out that's why we then were like, well, actually I can bring this in production. And that's why we ended up now with a Dissent with 4 different rates. So like 1 and 2 was kind of better for pumpy tracks that you're trying to generate speed. Sort of 3 and 4 if it's just really supple, if you want really nice small bump or high speed sort of suppleness, that's where you go with that.
So Steve, how does the Dissent differ from the old Pulse, and talk us through its main features?
Okay, so the main changes are that we wanted to simplify the design, make it lighter and stiffer. So we got rid of the coil system that used to house all of the linkage system inside the frame. It's now a much simpler, straightforward seat tube with all the linkage and everything around the outside. So we got rid of the fallout link system, and we moved to the new Dissent system. So effectively it went from a pull system where it's a pull link to a push link. This helped reduce some of the forces in there, made everything a little bit lighter, more refined, and everything should be a little bit more durable as well.
How does that new system translate to when you're riding the bike?
So the main changes when you actually ride the bike are that the whole thing's a little bit more supportive than it used to be. It should be plusher off the top, but really should be more progressive and more supportive in the mid-stroke. So the bike should be a lot better for pumping, and yeah, in general should sit a little bit higher in its travel, and just generally ride a little bit more poppy and faster and a little bit more fun and playful. So we've also got this the new flip chip system for the main pivot. So what this actually does is it changes the progression of the shock. So if you think of that a little bit like bottomless tokens for an air fork, effectively setting 1 would be like having no tokens, where your fork will be a little bit harder off the top, and then it'll kind of fall through its travel a little bit more. And then whenever you put tokens in, it allows you to reduce the pressure in the spring, so you're a little bit more supple off the top, but then it ramps up a lot more. So that's effectively what we've designed, but for a coil shock.
How important is it to get feedback from riders like yourself up to the likes of Sam Hill, Adam Brayton and Keelan Grant? How important is that in the development of something like the Dissent?
Crucial, to be honest. Our bikes have always been designed around racing right from the start of Nukeproof, so those guys are crucial to all of that. They're involved right from the outset throughout the process, and their feedback's crucial. But there's lots of different input. We have input from our athletes, from sponsored riders, from outside engineers, our engineers. We ride the bikes ourselves, so there's lots of different influences, and even magazine testers and everything. All that feedback comes together into the finished product usually.